So, better late than never, am I right? Yeah, okay, I failed. Alright, so in honor of making it to 100 subscribers, I decided to do my top 10 favorite archetypes ever video. This is me celebrating my favorite decks of all time. And you know what? This list wasn't easy. Why? Because I wasn't really sure how to go about it. Do I just go with decks I play? Do I just go with archetypes I think are cool? How do I make this list? So I decided ultimately to take out all logic, all sensibility, and again, if anyone wants a top 10 competitive archetypes I like list, that's for another day. But right now, we're here to talk about the decks that I just love for whatever dumb, goofy reason, and trust me, there's going to be some ridiculous reasons for why these decks are here. And if any of you are thinking these are going to be dumb, gimmicky anime decks or silly, goofy one-shots, well, clearly you need to watch more of my videos and understand how I think. But without further ado, let's get started. Number 10! Blackwings. That's right, people. Starting off the list is the myth, the legend themselves, the true archetype that has proved a point I have been trying to make for years and have struggled with, but this archetype did something for me, man. This archetype proves that you can have stuff from the anime as a whole be relevant in real life. I'm not talking about symbol things like Cyber Dragon or I can't think of anything else right now, but what I mean is, up until this point, people always believed that if it was from the anime, it was going to be gimmicky, it was going to be silly, it wasn't going to keep up with the competitive range, because it's meant to appeal to kids and fit into a narrative that needs to drag itself out 150 episodes. But Blackwings proved otherwise. This archetype was top tier when it came out. The deck had amazing synchro plays. It went into some of the strongest synchro monsters at the time. Blackwing Armor Monster, a monster that couldn't be beaten by battle. Blackwing Armed Wing, a monster that did massive piercing damage. This was an archetype I loved because you could make so many crazy plays with it. It felt so cool to be playing as one of Yu-Gi-Oh's most popular characters, and it's an archetype I love. I loved the revival with Assault Blackwings and being able to make the Synchros tuners, furthering even more crazy plays, hence justifying high levels. But all in all, it's a great archetype. It's a fun archetype. If you're an anime fan like me, you really gotta try this deck out. It'll make you feel like you're straight from the show. Number 9! But before we go any further, I'd like to give an honorable mention to all the Duelist Alliance archetypes. This really was a great year in Yu-Gi-Oh! Where every summoning method got to have a really powerful deck that topped several events each. It was a really great time, but for me, the pinnacle of this was the Shaddolls archetype. Why? Because I love fusion summoning, and Shaddolls brought fusion into the modern age. Now you fused from the deck. All the fusion materials had effects when they went to the grave, plus you could constantly recycle the fusion spells themselves. This is what the summoning mechanic needed. It is arguably the slowest of all of them, next to maybe ritual summoning, but because of that, it needed that forefront bringing into the modern day age. Plus, I love that they all do look creepy, but you really do get the story of what's going on here, and I love that about this deck. It's a great deck that unfortunately I didn't realize how much I truly loved it until it was gone, but my heart still yearns for it, and the fact that there is an anti-pendulum build focusing on Krista and there's Train Shaddolls gives me hope that this deck will stay with us for a long time to come. And now, let us leave the realm of competitive viability with Igknights. I put this deck at number 8 because it was the shining glory of the fusions during the Xyz era, in that it was like the only fusion deck they released during the Xyz era. This deck has such a beautiful artwork to it and aesthetic. I love it. I've always loved minerals and gemstones to begin with, and I've always loved knights. So to see all of this come together in an archetype, how could it not be on this list? On top of that, the fusions have such amazing effects that they really deserve their own discussion top 10 of their own. But it really is just a super fun, super entertaining deck. If you haven't tried it, I highly recommend it. And no, you're not a Gem Knight player if you use the Brilliant engine. You know who you are! So first up, before we get started, some of you are probably thinking, wait, this isn't an archetype, you can't put this here. Well, first up, yes, it is an archetype, it has support cards. And 2, this is my list, I can do whatever I want. So I'm going with the Utopia archetype. Now first up, I love number 39 Utopia. It's got a cool design, it's a Gundam, but on top of that, this deck is actually super cool. I mean, Yeah, if you've ever built it or tried to make one, you know it's mostly just a rank 4 spam deck focusing around one monster. But the thing is, the combos you can get with this deck is absolutely amazing. First up, Utopia is still a good standalone Xyz monster. It just gets outclassed because the game is too fast for a defensive effect to really matter, but the cards they give that work along with it are amazing. The two in particular are number 39 Utopic Dragon, a 4,000 beater that is simply summoned by discarding a rank up card while you have a Utopia on the board, and if that's not enough, it brings numbers back and it has built-in protection. Plus the amazing card Xyz Change Tactics. Whenever you Xyz summon a Utopia monster, pay 500 life points, draw a card, and when you rank up a Utopia without using a spell card, that's an Xyz summon. You can literally replenish your entire hand for a very small life point cost. Or if you're just not there, you can use Exchange Change Tactics to get your life points low enough to pull off Utopia Ray or Utopia Prime's effect. This is my favorite of all the Ace monsters because it's one of my favorite cards, and I just love playing this deck, and it is just super awesome. Try it. Okay, yeah, now even I admit I'm pushing it with this one a little too much, because for number 6, we're going Quasar Synchron, Stardust, Plant, Synchro, throw everything in the blender for this one. Well, let's be real here, you're all just playing it to get the same thing, and that is bust out that sweet, sweet Quasar. Because you know what? Synchro summoning, it might not be what it once was in the game of Yu-Gi-Oh!, but I freaking love synchro summoning. Why? Well, for the simple fact that it's like a puzzle. When you need to figure out the right tuner with the right non-tuners and summoning the monster at the right time for maximum effect, it just really feels like this intricate puzzle you're trying to solve, and nothing is better than when you use all these monsters to summon Shooting Quasar Dragon, one of the most badass cards ever. But this deck also holds another sentimental point for me because I got out of Yu-Gi-Oh! About halfway through GX because GX sucked ass. So getting back into it, I'm like, well, what do I want to do? And I looked at the Warrior Synchros and I'm like, these look cool. And so that's what got me back into the game. And not only that, Quick Draw Dandy Warrior was a great deck back in the day. You combine Dandelion with Quick Draw Synchron to make an easy toolbox into what were, and in my opinion still are, some of the most powerful Synchros ever introduced into the game. This deck holds a very special spot in my heart, and I know it does for a lot of people. No, people, don't adjust your screens. Number 5 is Igknights. Why, you may all be asking yourselves? I think Igknights are cool. They look cool. The pendulum summoning mechanic, I actually do like. I know that sounds crazy, but I enjoy pendulum summoning, and I love the way this deck does it. I love the concept of really utilizing being face-up in the X deck by popping and adding. You have a steady stream of Igknights to add to your hand. They have arguably the most fun FTK deck ever because it's one actually built around doing stuff, not just activating card effects over and over again. And not only that, it's a great Xyz toolbox deck. Like, I know this sounds crazy, but it's the truth. They have 6, 5, 4, and 3. You have a lot of range and a lot of deck varieties. On top of that, they have a really good field spell, and it really makes them powerful. You just summon 3 Cavaliers, you got 3 2700 beaters right there, and that's not hard to do at all in this deck. So that really answers the question, why is this deck not bigger? Well, it kind of has no defense, but the reason it's this high on the list is just because I like it. It entertains me. It lets me summon a lot of crazy things, and whenever I play this deck, even if it doesn't win, it sure as hell is a lot of fun to pull off, and give it a try. You never know what you're going to find with it. Coming in at number 4, we have Magician Pendulums. Again, you could throw in some of the more splashable Perform Pals in here, the Draco Slayer stuff, all of that. Anything you want can pretty much be thrown in here, but this is a super fun deck. I've been playing it, or at least different variants of it, since it came out last December. I freaking love playing this deck, guys. Like, you have no idea how much fun it is. Like with the Igknights, there's a lot of using of the Pendulum summoning elements in order to get a lot of stuff out. But where the Igknights lack stun, this deck can pretty much function with a lot of it. The thing is, there's a lot of room for adding in the Megspectre engine to get the Curins out. There's also a lot of access to interesting Xyzs like Norito and Utopia Beyond. And the thing is, I just love the Magician lore. I was really disappointed when it turned out Yugioh was using creepy circus animals, but I've developed some love for even some of the Performer pals. Okay, I developed love for Unicorn, who can basically take my opponent out in one shot, but all the Odd Eyes stuff is really cool as well. I love Vortex Dragon, Meteor Burst Dragon, Absolute Dragon, Rebellion Dragon. It's such a fun deck to play, and with all these anime archetypes, it's not the fact that they're from the anime that makes them fun. It's the fact that because they're in the anime, they keep getting more stuff to, market stuff. And the thing is, you can trial that out, and you get these really cool, interesting ideas. Yeah, a lot of it's gimmicky, but there's also a lot of it that's really fun and really exciting to play, and it always just puts a big smile on my face, and I highly recommend at some point you will give Magician Pendulums a try. Maybe you don't try Nirvana High Paladin, but I'm sure there's something in there that fits to your liking. Coming in at number 3, we leave the realm of any competitive viability to talk about Super Quantums. That's right, people. It's Power Rangers deck, and I frickin' love this deck. For those of you who don't know, I love Power Rangers. I've been watching it since I was a little kid. I've fallen off with Dino Charge lately, and I know it is predominantly for children, but I don't care. I love it. And you know what about this deck? It just makes me feel like a kid again. What was your favorite part of Yu-Gi-Oh when you were a kid? Setting up some bullshit OTK? No, it was summoning out your favorite monsters and going ham with them. And that's what I love about this deck. It is a deck designed around bringing out one of the coolest, most badass, awesome cards ever in the form of Great Magnus. And you know what? It was a fun deck to play when it was at its most consistent when it first came out, with Emergency Teleport, and you could use Rhoda, and you used all this stuff, and it was just so much fun, and it just brought out the fun Yu-Gi-Oh player in everyone. Even when you go against deck, you got to admit, seeing your opponent go through all that, summon that monster, and with it, oh, it's amazing. I don't even need to say anything else. Just go try it out, people. You'll know what I'm talking about. Some of you may be considering this one a little too much, but I don't care, it's my list. I'm putting the number archetype at number 2. Why? Because A, as we all know, I love Zale, and B, what was probably going to seem really gimmicky at the time wound up actually being a really neat idea. I really love the whole thing with the numbers. For starters, it was a great way to promote Xyz summoning. In my opinion, Xyz is the best of the game mechanics they've introduced over the years. It's simple, the effects have a neat little way of doing the cost, so that way they don't get too overly broken. Obviously, there's a lot of strong Xyz monsters, but overlay units keep it a little bit more fair, and just all in all, I thought this was a great idea. I love just looking at the numbers, and I love if you actually find out everything about them fits into what their role in the story was, who used them. There's all these little things as to what number was selected. It's so fascinating and fun to look at and think about. Every time we get a new number, I get kind of excited. I'm not going to lie, I'm a number hunter. I got almost all of them that are available in the TCG. It's just such a cool, fun little puzzle to complete as you get all of them and you put all together, and there's so many great Xyz monsters. Most of the Xyz monsters are numbers, and again, it just means that you get so many fun options, and it makes you want to try out so many fun decks. There's a ninja number. Maybe I'll give ninjas a shot. There's all these different, I'm really blanking on some of them, but it's such a great archetype, such a fun archetype, and I love everything about it. Number 1 is Heroes. I'm sure I've said it here somewhere before, but I love Heroes. They've been with me for as long as I can remember. Okay, as long as Heroes have been around. When they came out in the Lost Millennium all those years ago, I think I actually opened like 4 of them in one pack, and I just knew that this would be the deck for me, man. I loved it from day one. I love the fusion summoning. I love the superhero aspect because I love comics so much. I love the experimental stuff that they really tried some new different ideas for fusions with them, with the context stuff and even some of the fusion effects and all that good stuff. There's just so much about this deck. I love how it's had this fascinating history with the game as it comes in of relevancy, out of relevancy, over and over again. Masked Heroes are a thing again. Heroes are a thing currently at this time thanks to Totally Awesome, yeah. But at the end of the day, it's Darklaw, man. Like, Darklaw makes that deck. It's one of the coolest, most best cards I've ever used. I love getting its effect off. I just love the heroes so much. It always brings me with joy. I have every hero card there is, and I can't part with it. I can't get rid of it, because it's just such an integral part about who I am as a Yu-Gi-Oh player, and the kind of decks I love to play, and just everything. And everything on this list really was a deck of love. It really was something that did something I loved, something I enjoy, something that really makes Yu-Gi-Oh! A part of my life. Nothing symbolizes that more than Heroes, and no deck will ever be more important. And oh yeah, free Stratos. But what did you think of this list? In the comments section below, tell me what you thought of every archetype on this list, and what are your favorite archetypes? I want to know what everyone loves, what everyone enjoys to play, and what just makes everyone feel like a Yu-Gi-Oh! Player. And as always, click to like and click to subscribe, and let's hope to get to 200.